Hello and welcome to another day in paradise. Today we're going to unbox and assemble the FLX Babymaker. It's a bike that I had purchased online, I think from a GoFundMe type page. They've been shipping all over the world. I think they're made in China, and but it's a California company, and this bike is it's a battery bike that doesn't necessarily look like a battery bike, and that's one of the appeals to it. I tried to go through this video step by step and explain things as I go, so it's going to be a little bit longer so that you can assemble it with me if you wish. And pause it and fast forward it as needed throughout the video to hopefully give you some insights on how to assemble your Babymaker. I purchased the Pro model at 23 inches, and I'm 6 foot tall, and so I think I was pretty close to the switching limit for that in terms of deciding which size bike to use. It comes in this box. It was delivered by FedEx ground delivery, and it comes in. It's really hard to tell because you know, you've got a fish tank on the box, and here in the fish tank you can see there's the bike that I ordered. Alright, so unboxing the Babymaker, we'll see what we got inside. As soon as you see that I open the top of the box, of course there's a label here that says to please check entire contents of the carton before disregarding. And I've already done a good job of ripping up the top of it, because not only was it stapled, but it was glued, especially towards the middle top of the box. I'm pretty sure this is in the upside down position now, so I'm going to flip it back over. Okay, and then we're now back to the point where it staples on the top of the box. Hopefully it's not glued this time. And it's not. So inside the box you can see the bicycle is wrapped up in some foam. It's got pretty skinny tires here, which feel like they're already inflated. Everything is wrapped in some kind of foam and zip tied together. So I'm going to try to pull this out. Here's the bike seat. I'm going to try to pull this out and see how much zip tying I have to cut, which I'm sure is all of it. So in the box, you can see comes the instructions and the owner's manual, reflectors, and it looks like a charging kit here. There are also instructions online that you can follow with a video. So the first thing that we're going to try to do is install the front tire. And it already has these plastic things that are on the front of the tire, which we do not need. So I'm going to cut those off here. Just got a little knob on the end of it here that sticks into where the axle thing goes. This one's not coming out this easily. There it goes. Okay. Okay. So we're going to need the axle. So I think this is a spacer, this little yellow thing for the brakes. I don't know why it's in the box, but maybe it'll make itself obvious here. So, I don't see the axle for the front tire. Oh, it's on this. Okay. So I'm going to take off this one here. And right here on the front, you can see the axle's already on the bike. So I'm going to do this quick snap release thing here and see if I can get this baby out of here. I should be able to turn it. Nope. Okay, so there's a little notch in the front that this will fit into, and if you put that into the notch, you can unscrew the axle from the end of this fork here, and then pull it out, which then allows you to take this little rubber tube out. So now I'm going to take, okay, you can see my brake right here, and there's a brake spacer here. So you don't want to hit the brakes because that is actually separating the brake pads. And I'm going to set that right over the disc, the front disc, brake disc, and then try to fit, I'm going to put this axle back in through, well actually I'm going to line it up first and then put it through here. I can kind of pinch it with my legs like this. Okay, so I am putting the disc right through the brake calipers here, and then I am going to line up the holes to put the axle through. Okay, so when installing the, this is called a through axle, you can see that on the side that this rotor is on is the side that you would push the through axle through with the clamp side. And on this other side here, you would see that as you're screwing in this side of it, I screwed it in until it was about flush. And there's threads that are on the inside of this fork. And so you can see that the threads kind of line up. Here, you can kind of see, well, maybe not very well, but the brake discs, and here's the rotor as it goes through the middle there. So one of the things that you're supposed to do is when you, and so also there's this little notch that's right, it's right here. You see that little notch there? If you take this and you put it, you take the handle and you put it in that little notch, that will allow you to tighten and loosen the through axle. And you can maybe see here as I turn it, you can kind of see it turning here, and that's the thread side. So you can see the threads now. I'm unscrewing it now. You can see the threads starting to reveal themselves. And so now I'm going to tighten it back up to about that's where it's about flush. And I can feel it kind of feel tight on the forks right now. And so I want to tighten it about hand tight. And so after you pull it out of this little clamp, this little notch, you can kind of pull this out and rotate the tensioner. And so as you tighten the tensioner, you don't want to have to force it. You want to, you know, just a moderate resistance. So if you can do it with like one finger or something, that's too much. And so what I want to do is rotate this so that when I tighten it, it's facing towards the rear of the bike. And so, as you can see here, the back of the bike is here. I'm going to get this and rotate this around so that that when I tighten it, so that's tightening it right there, but I'm going to try to rotate this there so that this goes towards the back of the bike. And you can see I can push it with pretty good resistance on my thumb there. Okay, and so now this is towards the back of the bike. And you can see right there. Okay. Okay. As I slide it through, I can then, I don't know what that is, screw it in the same way that I unscrewed it. There it goes. Get some threads going here. Okay. I'm not going to make it too tight. Push that forward. All right. We now have the front tire on. The brakes are lined up onto the disc here, and the calipers are on either side, and the brake pads are lined up on it as well. The clearance here is actually pretty tight. There's a tight tolerance between the spokes and the brake line here. All right, so now I'm going to put the kickstand down here just so that I can keep it upright. Well, that's what it's going to be. All right, it's already starting to look like a bike that you can't sit on or steer. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the handlebars. And so there's a rubber band holding on the packaging here. pull it off, and you can see, oh, whoops, I had the wheel backwards, okay. So actually, so now, because I had the wheel backwards, you can see that this is facing towards the front, so I'm going to change that so that it now faces to the rear. But what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew these Allen bolts here with an Allen wrench that comes in the box. And in the box here, I put it in here somewhere. Here's the tool bag, and in it you can see the Allen wrenches here that we will use to take the front portion off before we put the handlebars on. Okay, so here are the, here's the front, and actually these are already, they're already pretty loose. So I'm just going to detach these. And you can see I can just spin it with my fingers here. Be careful to not lose there's little washers that are on the end of this. And don't lose the washers off the end. Okay, I'm going to save these pieces, and I'm going to grab my handlebars. Okay, I decided to get the bull handlebars because I have them on a hybrid bike that I already own, that I had picked up at Walmart for like $80 10 or 15, maybe even 20 years ago, and I really liked them. Okay, so I'm going to imagine myself riding this thing here, and I think this is pretty much how I want them. You know, I don't think I want to ride them like this. So I'm going to have the bull horns up here, and you can see that there's this little you can kind of see this textured part right here in the middle that is actually going to grip onto the piece that we just took off. So I'm going to take the piece that we just took off here, which has a little bit of nick in it, I see, because it's a little. But anyway, I'm going to put that in here, and I'm going to finger start all of these bolts, these little Allen bolts here. Oops. So I like to install everything diagonally to kind of even the pressure off, but also I get one in the top, one in the bottom, and then I go crisscross applesauce. There is a little bit of lube on this. I'm starting to get a little bit of grease on my fingers here. Okay, and I'm just going to tighten them so that it's just barely tight so that I can adjust the handlebars. So I'm just going to spin it without putting any real tension on it. And you can see I didn't do crisscross applesauce there, but that's because I'm not really tightening it. Okay, so it's barely tight right now, so I can move it around, and I can kind of feel by the thickness of the handlebar that I'm going to try and get it centered here. I'm going to position the handlebars to about where I want them, and then I'm going to tighten them by going cross-directionally. And I'm not really going to tighten them. I'm just going to do a little bit at a time. So that's, barely tight, barely tight, barely tight, a little bit tighter, a little bit tighter. And just keep doing that there for a minute. And then I'm going to turn the Allen wrench over so that I can get more torque. And then, you know, give it a good little tightening there. Because what really sucks is as you're riding down the road and your handlebars start to spin. So just go in a crisscross pattern here, and you can feel, you know, basically when they feel about the equal amount of tightness all the way as you're doing this, you know, which I'm there now. You know, that's pretty much where you want to go. I mean, we're not cranking down on the thing. So, and now the next step is we're going to go to the seat. Okay. So I took the plug that was in, this plug was inside this cavity here. I take that out, and you can see that there's some grease that's on here. When you look inside the tube here, it is very well greased, and there's lots of grease. So I'm actually just going to kind of smooth it around a little bit, make sure that it's all the way around. Okay, which I think it probably already was, but now I'm going to slide this down in here. So there's a clamp right here, which is similar to the front of the forks that we can use to tighten down and secure the seat. So I loosen that clamp, I'm going to slide this down, and I'm going to leave it just a little bit like this. Put the clamp down just a little bit. And I already see that it's probably going to be high to me. I mean, you know, yeah, I don't think I'm that tall. So anyway, this is the largest bike frame that they have. I'm going to put it down almost all the way down. And so you want this to probably be as straight or parallel as possible to the bike frame here. And there's a couple of Allen wrenches, or Allen bolts right here that we can use. Here comes the bigger one here, yeah. So it comes with a bigger one here. I'm sure that'll fit in there. Yep. So if we needed to adjust the seat and slide it, there's a rail. You can kind of see the rail right here that this sits on, and we can loosen these bolts and slide the seat, you know, forwards and backwards just a little bit, or even adjust the angle probably a little bit here. But I'm keeping it with the how it was manufactured or shipped for now, and I'll try it and adjust that later if I need to. But right now I basically have about 3/4 of an inch or so, and I'm just going to tighten that down and try that to begin with. I'm going to try to sit on the bike and see how I like the handlebars, and the seat's not so important, but I want to make sure the handlebars are in the position that I want them to be in before I install the brakes, because it's much harder to adjust things, you know, after the brakes have been installed. So as I come around, I'm sitting on the seat, which actually this is not too bad. And it feels pretty good to me. I mean, I already kind of tested it before I tightened it down anyway, and I think this is it. I could probably, maybe a little bit more forward, but if I'm down, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it like this. I kind of like the bull horns kind of vertical, you know, and then I've got good, you know, if I'm resting my arms forward, this seems to be a pretty good position. And then if I want to get down, I can get down like this. And then if I'm, you know, leisurely riding, I can have it like this. So I think these are pretty good. I like, these are almost vertical. Okay, and so another thing that I wanted to point out is, although I like my bullhorns up, pointed up to, you know, I don't know, it's easier to gore someone maybe, but a lot of times what I've noticed on bikes is they will have this part horizontal instead of up here at the 45-degree angles. And so you might like your bike like that. I think it's more standard to have the handles parallel to the ground versus mine are up at a 45-degree angle. So on the bike, you can see that the brakes have already kind of been pre-installed onto the frame. And so what I'm going to do is we want the front brake on the left hand, and the back brake is going to be on the right hand. And you can follow the, you can see the brake cord that goes in through the tube here. It goes all the way back, comes out the back over here. But you can also see that the front one goes directly down the tire. You see the little cord here as I follow it down. So I'm going to install the front brake here, and it's already on, the cord already comes up onto the left side. This rubber band's holding that on. And so you can see the tube. I'm wearing black, so here you go. So the tube here, you can see, we're just going to take these screws out here and then attach it onto the bike frame here. And it comes with the Allen wrench here. Okay, and actually, so this is actually a star or like a screwdriver end on here. So we're going to use the screwdriver that came in. Oh, maybe not. Doesn't seem to fit too well. Hold on. So it's actually a star bit. Let's see if they came with the star bit here. Oh yeah, there's one over here. So, yep. So you can see here there's a star bit that comes on this Allen wrench here. And they also had one here that has just a regular screwdriver head on it. We're going to use, for the handlebars, we're going to use this, well, that's a regular Allen wrench. We're going to use this star bit one, which also, there's two different sizes it looks like on the ends of these, whichever one fits. So, maybe they both fit. Oh, they look like they both fit. Okay, so, which is nice because it allows you to torque. So this is the faster way to unscrew it, is with attaching the long end and using the short end for torque, versus this way, using the short end and the long end for torque is much slower. But, I can do it both ways. Okay. So we're just going to take off this. I'm going to take off this little piece here. We're going to attach the handlebar onto here, like so. Like so. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to add the clamps onto the back. These clamps onto the back side. Whoops. There we go. I'm going to hand start them to begin with and then tighten them just like I did with the front. And just get them started with my hands. And you should really do that anytime you're screwing anything in any way, just to make sure you don't cross thread the screws. So, so here I am. See the screws here? I'm just going to tighten them until they're just holding in place. It actually looks like doing it this way is the best way here. Doing it, I guess I can try to do it left-handed here. So if I do it this way, it's faster. And so again, I'm just going to do a little bit on each side because I want there's a little gap in the plastic here that I want to try and maintain the same on both sides of the brake handle as I tighten it. So I want that gap to be fairly even on each side if I can. So I'm going to try to tighten each screw a little bit at a time to see if I can get that gap fairly even. And if there is a remainder of a gap, I think that's okay, because that will show that there's room to tighten it if you have to, but also all we're trying to do is get to a tightness that, so now it's kind of getting a little bit tight, so I'm going to switch to torquing it this way. Now the top, I see the gap is closed on the top, but I can still see that there's a little bit of space before the screw head there. So I'm actually going to, I can see that there's more of a large gap on the bottom, but I'm going to tighten the bottom to make it snug on the handlebar. And I'm going to loosen the top if I have to, which it looks like I'm going to have to, so that they even out the gaps top to bottom. Now it's loose again. I'm going to tighten the bottom one here so that the gaps are fairly even here. Okay, there we go. So the gaps are pretty even now. I'm going to test, get on the bike here and test and see if I like the braking position. I think maybe I'm going to angle it down a little bit farther. They're kind of high right now, but I think if I'm grabbing, my fingers naturally fall lower. So right now, the brake handle's just a little bit below horizontal. I'm going to put it even farther down. So maybe not quite 45-degree angle, but more like a 30-degree angle maybe. So I'm just going to loosen them just a tad and put it in an angle that, that I like a little bit better. So I'm going to loosen them up just a tad. Yeah, maybe. All right, so it's loose and I can still kind of move them up and down a little bit. And I'm just trying to figure out where my hands would naturally want to grab the handlebar. And yeah, I don't think it's quite a 45, maybe 30, 35-degree angle. I'm about, a ½ inch off of the foam grip, the handlebar grip here. And the handlebars are pointed down. You can see here, down just a little bit. So horizontal would be, kind of more like this. And I have the handlebars more like this. All right, so you can see like horizontal, but my hands, when I'm grabbing the handlebars, rest naturally in this position. So I want my handlebars to be at like a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to tighten those up, and I'm going to do the same thing for the right side, which is located right here. And so I'm just going to do that right here. Hand tightening these. got it started, and now, like I said, there's a little bit of a gap in the plastics between one and the other. I'm going to come off about 1/2 inch off of the foam handle grip there. And I'm just going to tighten these with the short torquing at the top until I get some tension here. And then I'll go to the long arm torquing side here. Just a second. But I want to now check. It's about tight enough where it'll stay in place, but I can still move it. So I think I'm going to try to line it up similarly to this one here. First of all, I don't want it to look funny, but second of all, I think that's already where my natural hand position is going to lie. And so, which I think is fine. I'm looking at it, my hand's pretty much even. And I'm also about even on terms of the distance between the foam on both of these as well. And so now I'm just going to tighten this up just a little bit here. I see there's actually have a bigger gap at the top than at the bottom here on this plastic. So I'm just trying to make sure that, again, it's hard to see on the camera here. But what we have is this little gap right here that I'm pointing at. There's a gap here, and if I tighten down the screw here, this gap will close. But I'm trying to maintain where my fingernail is here. I'm trying to maintain an even gap here on the top as there is on the bottom. You can see the gap much easier here, just that little gap. And so I'm trying to make the gap in those two spaces as even as possible so that I know that oops, I'm gonna turn my camera around here. I know that the tension is evenly distributed. Okay, so now what we're going to do is the pedals, and the pedals come in the box with the battery charger, and with these pedals, it's important to get the correct pedal on the correct side. And the reason is because on this lever here, the left side is actually reverse threaded. And so on the right side it's righty-tighty, on the left side righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. On the right side it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and on the left side it's the opposite. And so there's should be something on here that tells you which one goes where. So after closer examination, I don't see a left or right indicator on these pedals. But what I do see is as I put these together, you can see, it's very slight, you can see that there's this U shape here, and there's a U shape here, so that you can see that these are actually opposite. So the insignias are this well-go insignia. When we put them next to each other and side by side on top of each other here, we can see we have this U-shaped side here on the left on the top one, and this U-shaped side on the right on this bottom one, so that they are actually opposite. They're mirror images of each other, so they're opposite each other, and you can see this U shape here. Well, that U shape will go to the back of your foot, because as you're writing on the pedal, your foot, you're pushing forward with your toes, and your toes are going to be in the lower position. So I know that if I put this top one here with the this U shape on the back, it sits just a slight smidge higher than the front here. I know that this is the left pedal because my left foot would be pushing down on the pedal. This is the left side. And so I'm going to see and test it and see if I turn it as if I'm loosening it, if it goes into the this little bar here. And call me crazy, but all right, so yeah, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So I want to turn it lefty, and now it's tightening. So I was actually doing the righty tighty and it was not working. Now I'm doing the lefty loosey and it is working. Okay, so now I have it hand tightened, and I'm going to have to finish that with the tool that they gave me, which is this little handy wrench here that they gave me, and I'm just going to tighten so you can see that the wrench will fit right on here, and we have to tighten it the rest of the way with the wrench. And these are two different size wrenches here. It looks like 15 millimeter and 13 millimeter. It's going to be the 15 millimeter side that we're going to finish tightening this with. And so again, I'm going to go lefty loosey to tighten it on the left. Well, it's not actually lefty loosey because we're going lefty tighty here. I'm just going to basically pull it up to what I feel is pretty good tension. I don't know how to scientifically tell you to do that other than I pulled it up tight enough that I thought it was tight enough. And then I'm going to now insert this one on the right side using the righty-tighty. Okay, so righty-tighty is working just great. And so basically also, if you start putting these in and it's not doing the righty-tighty on the right side, you know that you need to switch your pedals because it's not obvious which one goes to which one. Okay. So there we have both of our pedals here. Now, they don't spin like my childhood bike did, but hey, I guess that's a little bit more of a workout, who knows. Okay, as you can see, the bike looks like it's pretty much all the way assembled. The last thing we need to do is assemble where the display goes. The display is the last thing that's hanging off of the bike that was with the brake lines. And you can see it here. Let me bring the bike a little bit closer here. You can see the display here as it came out. It came out from the side of the bike here, which I can just take this off, I think. So it came out the side of the bike here, and there's this little, it's hard to see because everything on the bike is black. If you couldn't tell, black is my favorite color. And as you can also see that as I wear my Omega, it's also the black dial because, you know, it's my favorite color. And so as you can see here, the display, it's got this little cover over it to protect it from scratching. But it's got the little screw here on the back, and it's a hinge clamp. So we're just going to loosen this screw on it, hinge it open, and you can put it on either side of the bike you want. I think I'm going to like mine on the left side, and the reason is because I like to use a bell when I'm on the bike path, and I like to use the bell with my right thumb. So I'm going to put this on the left side, and I'm going to put a bell on the right side. And so let's see here. We should have an Allen wrench for that, I would think. And oh, and actually, it's not going to be the last thing because I see that we have some. I see also that we have some reflectors that we'll also need to install, and these will have screwdriver heads on the ends of them, so a standard screwdriver will work, and one of the tools that they sent us had a screwdriver head on it, and so that should do it for that. And let me see if I can find the Allen wrench. Oh, here it is. So a small Allen wrench should work on the display, which I had already, it's already hanging over here. So I'm going to undo this screw here, and you'll see also that it's a hinge clamp here. So on this also, it's very important not to over tighten any of these things because we don't want to, we don't want to strip out anything for one. And so also I see there's these up and down thumb buttons here. Okay, so one of the things that I want to note is that this monitor should be installed actually with the buttons on the bottom. And what that does, it allows the power button here on the top to be exposed on the top, and then the menu / select button will be here on the side. All right, and so that was previously, or that was installed upside down to begin with. Sit here and look and see, can my thumb reach the button, and can I see the display? Let's see here. So here's the display. So can I see it, and can my thumb reach it? And so that looks like it's in a pretty good position from my brakes to grabbing the display. So I'm just going to tighten it to the point where it doesn't spin anymore. I mean, it just took me like 2 half turns, and it's already pretty tight. And so I don't want to tighten it anymore because I don't want the display to get stripped out. All right, so it looks like it's a good thing I left a little bit of space here on the back of my seat here, because I'm going to now put the red reflector, which already comes pre-angled, by the way. So I'm going to have it, so as it lays flat here, it's actually going to be angled up just a little bit, because otherwise it'll basically just point down to my tire. And I want to make sure that it gets the most reflective surface possible by having it angled up like this when I put it onto the bike. You can see too that it has just a regular screw head into it, so we'll be using, they gave you a tool for that also, which is right here. So I'm just going to unscrew that till it detaches, which only took like not much, and then it opens up, and we'll stick the clamp on here. And so, whew, barely fits on there because, you know, I didn't leave very much space there, but it's going to work. So, you know, if I have to, I can just raise this by loosening this clamp here, lifting the seat up just a little bit if I wanted to, but I think the seat was about right, and it's, actually I could raise it just a little bit more, I guess, and make that fit on there. Line that, tighten it. then tighten this down here. I almost never use the tools that come in the box because I like power tools a lot better, and I'm finding right now that this baby is not wanting to go in. I'm going to unscrew it and make sure I'm hitting the hole right, which I'm pretty sure I was. Yeah, which I was. It's just this is going to be tight because it looks like it's threading itself as I'm screwing it. It's not like a pre-threaded hole that's going into. It's just something maybe it looks like it was just drilled in there, and then the screw's going to make its own threads. So this is actually probably the hardest part of the whole thing here, because not only do you want it tight enough that it stays on there and doesn't spin around, but because they're not pre-threaded holes, you have to kind of make sure you're pushing pretty tight into the screw head to tighten this thing. Which I think I might just get my regular screwdriver for this. But well, so now we have the. So I talked about, I said I want to put a bell on this thing. Well, I'm running out of handlebar space. So I can put the, I'm going to put the front, I'm going to put the front reflector as close to the center as I can. And then hopefully it's going to leave enough space for my bell to go on here. If I have to, I might just loosen up the handlebar and slide it right to the edge of the foam here so that I have enough room. And I might do that over on this side as well to make sure that, well, I mean, I have room because here's the monitor here. So I have room on this side, but I want to add two more things onto this. I want to add my bell and I want to add this reflector. So I might need the space, and in order to keep it even, I might slide this over to and just center this display monitor. So, actually I think I'm going to be okay. So there's enough of the thicker part of the tube here that I can just screw down onto the thicker part, and then I still have skinny tube right here that I can put my bell on. Also, the reflector stands out away enough from the bracket that it can sit over the front, this front hub here. So I think I'm actually going to be okay. I'm not going to have to worry about it. So I'm going to try to pinch the clamps together here so that the hole lines up, and I'm making sure that I'm going to be screwing into this thing as straight as possible because I had so many problems with the last one. I mean, not problems, but it seemed more difficult than it should have been. So, and this one is still difficult even though I'm trying to make sure that the holes are, it's pretty much lined up. So I just want this to be snug, or even a little bit more than snug, because it's something that's going to be a permanent fixture on the bike here. And I think that's pretty good. I can kind of turn it, so now I'm just going to tighten it as the last little step I can. And again, I think in this particular case, using a regular screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, is by far your best bet. So with my Babymaker, they also sent me this little bell. I can't remember if they gave me an option to, you know, they were giving away like an accessory or something like that. I can't remember. But, you know, the bell is something I use frequently, especially on the bike path. And it's similar to the reflectors in terms of it has a Phillips head screw here on the end. And so I'm going to actually use a screwdriver. So I'm just going to use a screwdriver, and as you can see here, the screw is going to have to be done from the bottom as this sits on the top. Actually, oh, okay, good. So one of the things is too, I was worried is, you know, I want the thumb, the ringer to be able to move to the position, and you can actually spin that to go to left or right position, which is nice because I was worried there for a second that I wouldn't be able to move it. But let's see here. This, with this accessory, actually, it comes with a pre-threaded hole, which is also nice, so it's not actually going to be that hard to install. But the screw is actually pretty long. I mean, it's a pretty good size screw here. So I'm going to put that on the right side here next to my reflector. And then I'm going to spin the, well, do I want it this way? What do I want? I think I'm going to go the other way. I think I want the bell to hang out towards the front. Yeah, so I'm going to have the bell hang out towards the front. Oh man, and it actually sits way too loose. I don't see how I'm going to be able to tighten that. So I'm screwed on this bell thing unless I put it on the foam grip, which is what I'm going to have to do. All right. So even though we have a very long screw that would give us a lot of space in terms of a bigger, I could put it on a bigger handlebar, if this is all the way tight, this hoop is still too big for the skinny part of this handlebar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install it on the foam part, which is much larger. And I really don't like doing that because it takes up my hand space, but I don't really see a choice because the tube on the handlebars is too skinny to accommodate this particular accessory that they sent with the bike. Also, what I ended up doing with the bell is I ended up leaving my handlebars with this little gap here like this, and then I squeezed this in between the gap, and there's enough thickness left over on the strap that it made it tight enough, and it basically wedged the bell in there. And then I had to leave the striker pointed back so that when I put my hand here, the striker didn't hit me in the side of the hand. Also, the charge port, we're going to charge the bike now. The charge port is actually located right here on the side of the bike. And so there's a little rubber thing here that will open up so that you can install the charger right here, which I'm going to do now. So now that I have all these boxes left over, it comes down to breaking down the boxes. And one of the things I like to do, of course, is make sure that when I break down these boxes that I break them down so that they're flat. I see that there's these little staples that are on the side. I think I'm going to try to pull all those staples out. But for sure, I'm going to pull out these staples. And I'm using basically a pair of needle nose pliers here so that I can get underneath them fairly easy and then yank these things out. And so I'm just going to go through and take out all these staples and at least get the box so that I can break it down flat. And it also makes it easier for me to stack these things outside when the recycler comes. So I hope you have enjoyed, or at least this video was helpful to you when assembling your Babymaker. This was received in May of 2021, and I know they had done a couple of different packaging iterations, and this is the most recent one. And the braking mechanism and some other small things might be different between the Pro model that I have and the standard model that comes. But you know, this is for the Pro model, and happy biking.